An object of mass 1 kilogram is moving in a straight line at velocity 10 meters per second. It collides with an identical object also traveling at 10 meters per second in a straight line. The initial velocities are perpendicular. The objects stick together. What is the magnitude in meters per second of the new combined velocity? So let's illustrate the situation. Perpendicular lines. So one object with velocity of 10 and 1 kilogram, and another, let it be moving in this direction, and velocity is also 10. They collide at this point and then move as one object in this direction, and there is some angle theta and unknown velocity. Let it be v primed, the magnitude of the required velocity, and let x-axis be in this direction and y-axis be in this direction. Definitely we should apply a law conservation of momentum. Momentum is a vector quantity and is equal to mv vector, and it says that for isolated system total momentum before is equal to total momentum after, or total momentum is conserved for isolated system. So before it's momentum of this, and since it's two-dimensional situation, we will consider in projection or in components on x-axis and on y-axis. So in projection on x-axis it becomes momentum of this object. You can see that this vector is parallel to x and in the same direction, so it's component or projection onto x-axis is completely 10 meters per second, and multiplied by mass, which is 1, so it's 10. And you can see that this vector is perpendicular to x, so its component of projection onto x is 0. Is after mass is 2, because we consider it as one object, but mass is combined, so mass is 2, and component of this velocity onto or projection onto x-axis, it's what v primed sine of theta. This vector v primed, its velocity after, has two components, horizontal and vertical, and you can see that horizontal it's what v primed sine of theta, and projection or component on y-axis it's v primed cosine. And for y-axis it becomes initially this vector is perpendicular to y-axis, so its component is 0 or its projection onto y-axis is 0, but this component is of velocity is 10, this vector is in the same direction and is parallel, so mass is 1, component of velocity is 10, so momentum is 10, is equal to after mass is 2 v primed cosine of theta. Its component of velocity v primed component in y direction or projection of v primed onto y-axis. I choose this angle to be theta so that I get sine cosine. If you choose theta to be this angle, you get cosine and sine. It doesn't matter. And we get simultaneous equations. It can be solved, and we can get can find the magnitude of the velocity after, and also this angle also can be found. It's not required, but it's let's also find it. So how to get rid of sine and cosine? We can do, first of all, we can divide both sides by 2 to get 5 is v primed sine of theta, and 5 is v primed cosine of theta. And now we can square both sides to get 25 is v primed squared sine squared of theta, and 25 is v prime squared cosine squared of theta. And using the main trigonometric identities that sine squared plus cosine squared is 1, we get 25 over v prime squared plus 25, so it will be 50. If it's difficult, let me rewrite. So sine squared is 25 over v prime squared, and cosine squared is 25 over v prime squared. And it's also simultaneous equations. We add both sides, so sine squared plus cosine squared is 25 plus 25, it's 50 over v prime squared, and it's 1. Sine squared plus cosine squared is 1. Hence, v prime squared is 50. So v primed is square root of 50, which is 2 times 25, so it's 5 root of 2. Root of 2 it's approximately 1.4, so it's about 7. Yes, so definitely you may use a calculator, but it's A. It's clear that it's A. And let's find theta. How to find theta? We can divide both sides to get 5 over 5, it's 1, and v primed over v primed is also 1, and sine over cosine, it's tangent, and tangent is 1. It's clear that it's 45 degrees. And definitely it can be suggested that this angle is 45. Why? Because same masses, same magnitudes of velocities, so it can be suggested that after this angle will be 45 degrees. And that's all for this question.